Emancipation as I bring out the cast and crew. And I want you to give a round of applause as I call them out. So, without further ado, we have from prosthetic makeup, Christian Tinsley, Head of Department for Hair, Amanda Bowman, Hair Designer to Will Smith, Pierce Austin, Makeup and Prosthetic Designer to Will Smith, Judy Murdoch, Head of Department for Makeup, Ken Diaz, Production Designer, Naomi Shohan, Cinematographer, Robert Richardson, and star of the film, Charmaine Lingua, and Director, Antoine Fuqua. Let's give it up for this incredible panel tonight. Ooh. Wow, what a film, what an experience. Antoine, first of all, congratulations to you all. Beautiful film. And yes. Antoine, you and I were just talking about it. That photo at the end is such a searing image. Had you seen it before? And if not, like, talk about, why you had to tell the story of Emancipation.
Yeah, I've seen the photo before in college, I believe. But, like a lot of horrific images of slavery, it's becoming art pieces. Hangings on the wall. And you forget the human that went through that horrific ordeal. I did research on Peter. Peter was in a coma for 3 months. And when he was in the coma, he said he saw God. And so he felt that he was emancipated spiritually, not physically. And I wrote at the top of my script, Sacred Motivation, because I knew it would have to be something deeper inside of me to get through it, to experience that every day, to watch Black people, my people, in chains, watch Will in chains. What really moved me, when we were prepping this, that's when George Floyd was murdered. There was a lot of things happening in the world. So I felt like we were not reminding people of the horrific behavior of how we treat each other. And I wanted to tell a story that basically this would be my love letter to America, to a place I love, my home, that we can't let this happen again. It was all about faith, love, resilience, getting back to his family. So if there's ever going to be a love letter to America from me, this would be it.
Love that. And we're going to talk about that opening scene. But Charmaine, you were so incredible in this film, such a powerful performance. What preparation did you have? Yes, can we give it up for Charmaine's performance? Thank you. Talk about the preparation that you had to do to get into Dorian, and because what was out there for you to tell her story?
Yeah, absolutely. It was a daunting task. She's such an incredible woman and greatly sacrificed for her family, and so finding her was interesting. It was certainly an experience to me. So I've said to Anton before, you get that role and you're so happy as an actor, and then you realize you're like, oh, this is going to be really hard. But I started in the obvious place, looking at history books, but as I kept going through it, I realized that, books turn people into numbers, and the enslaved people didn't have a way to get their experience down and have it accurately reflected. So I went and I listened to hours and hours of narratives from enslaved people, and there was one that really shook me. I believe her name was Mary, and she put a dirty plate on a mistress's table, and that made mistress beat her so hard that she wasn't able to move her jaw again, and she wasn't able to eat solid foods for the rest of her life. And it was one of many stories that were horrifying. But I went to bed and, I was deeply moved by this story. And then when I woke up, I couldn't move my jaw. And I don't know what weird kind of voodoo thing that is, but when I went through that experience, I felt what she felt. I felt what it was like to be in pain and to feel stuck and to have no voice and to feel what it was like to be silenced. And at that point, you know, I think I tried to intellectualize her at the beginning, but then I got to experience her and she started to speak through me. And, you know, I could feel the pressure in her chest. I could hear the language of her people, and I could hear the songs that she wanted to sing her children. And then speaking of experience, there's no way I couldn't have done it without this team here. You know, Mona made a beautiful space for me every day in the hair department, making, you know, it's so much about the atmosphere that's created around you. Ken as well, like, you know, I loved that this project, you know, was accurate and free of vanity as well. We just wanted to tell it the way it was. And, you know, Naomi's beautiful production work, I looked around and there was nothing to tell me I wasn't in this time period. Everything was so authentic and perfect, and you know, and it was like a trick for my mind because I felt like I was there. And actually, somebody said to us last night, they were saying, Bob must really like you because the way he shot you was so beautiful. And I'm like, he liked all of us. He shot us all that way.
I do.
So, you know, it was an experience, and of course, this wonderful man here who is such a beautiful collaborator. I remember that moment because, you know, I could feel her language and I could feel the songs, and we're shooting that scene where with my children, and I could tell he was about to call cut, and I just started singing, which was kind of really embarrassing as an actor. No one was ready. I was like, and I thought, this is where I get fired, right? But this guy's so great. He just encourages you to, like, bring your instincts, and you know, the next take I said, can I say it in Haitian Creole? And he was like, yes, more, this is what this is about. And truly, like, he's a master, he works for his heart and soul, so it was such a team endeavor.
Before I jump to you, Bob, Antoine, I want you to talk quickly about casting. Charmaine.
It's amazing.
How did
Charmaine.
her audition?
Well, Mary Renew is a fantastic casting agent, director. And I saw a lot of wonderful actresses that came in. And then I saw Charmaine. And I remember seeing her immediately going like, that's Dodiane. And it's hard to explain it to her, but I said, because she has a lot of pain in her eyes. She had a lot of pain in her eyes when I was watching her. And I felt like it was so real. And my heart broke for her, thinking about the journey that they were going to go on. And so I said Charmaine had to be in the film. Ben Foster came along, incredible actor. He created Fossil, that Fossil. Ben really spent a lot of time with me and talking, and wanted to make it feel like a guy that we would all know, could be from Ohio, as opposed to the Southern trope, as Fossil really was. He's a real guy. Ben really helped shape that character quite a bit.
You found a young unknown actor called Will Smith, right?
Well, Will sent me the script. So that, you know, it came through Will and CAA. So I was halfway in when Will sent it to me because we've been wanting to work together for a long time. But what was amazing about it is these two beautiful people, Judy and Pierce. I was working on the script and we were having Zooms and going through the whole process. They put together a test of Will Smith, the way he looks now. It broke my heart. Because I thought, this is what Will would look like if he was a slave. It broke my heart. And I called him and I said, that's it. That's the look. So they created that look. And the rest of the cast, amazing. I'll be short if I can. The rest of the cast, amazing. I want to just say this about the cast because it's so important to know. The black characters that played the role were in pain every day. Every day. The white characters were in pain every day, these actors. We had therapy for them every day. They would come up to me crying, playing these ugly roles. You know, that was an amazing experience for me, because to be able to wrap your arms around people and say, it's okay, I know that's not who you are, is what this movie is all about, you know? So everyone that's cast in this movie gave their heart. Not one of them didn't have their own personal journey that would come come up to me and talk to me about it. So the casting, a lot of credit to Mary Banu. She always brings me great people.
Incredible. Bob Richardson, one of the best in the business. Talk about the color palette or choosing to shoot like in near black and white, and when you decided, or the conversations that you had with Antoine about putting in those pops of color.
Well, Antoine decided it was going to be black and white. I didn't decide a thing. The truth of the matter is we didn't want to make a color movie, and that the black and white served the story in a much finer manner than color would have. But initially it was intended to be a color film, but the black and white brought, I think, so much more heart and captured what you often talk about, the brutality as well as the beauty. So that's how.
Talking about the beauty, that opening scene, the washing the feet is such an incredible moment, and as we've been saying, it makes sense at the end. You're like, what am I watching? And it comes together. Framing that and showing the family, like, what conversations did you have about how you were gonna introduce this beautiful family? Well, that's for you.
Yeah, I think you can answer that as well.
Yeah,
Well, the shaft of light was, from the very first moment, the thing. I think we probably didn't even discuss it. We illustrated it that way, we shot it that way, we made a hole in the roof so it would be that way. There was a lot of intuitive communication going on, I think, for me anyway, with Antoine, and with Bob, and I think a lot of that, I think we were so committed to the feeling of the movie and what we were trying to express about that moment in time and the moment in time that we live in now, through making the movie as viscerally real as we possibly could. And the images presented themselves in a lot of ways.
They were highly fortuitous in extraordinarily difficult circumstances. It was a battlefield out there in many ways, not just the battle that we had, but it was virtually impossible to shoot. So many obstacles against us, starting with COVID to the weather, that there had to be someone looking down.
Well, that location, just the beauty, Bob Richardson, Naomi, that's why it's so beautiful, period. But the presentation was written in the script. But also, if any of you have ever been inside a slave pen, as they call them, they're not very big at all. They're very small, and they have 8 to 12 slaves in these places. And they're extremely hot, which we kept it that way. That's real locations. Naomi built 2 or 3? 4. 4. But that's a real location. So we kept true to the scale. And the presentation of it was all about what the movie was about, which is about family. And we just wanted the camera just to be still and just take in the peacefulness and the spirituality of family and love. And we didn't want the camera to move much. We wanted to introduce Will that way. Bob, basically, when he shot Will, he looked at me and said, we gotta see Will this way. The first shot's gotta be this. It wasn't written exactly like that. And I said, you're right. But that's all about what the movie's about. It's about family, it's about love, it's about faith, it's about what's sacred and what's not.
And to Naomi's incredible work, building the rail tracks, the railroad was phenomenal.
We got wiped out by a hurricane. She had to rebuild everything. We were down for a month. Yeah, we had a tornado. We had COVID. We had heat over 100 degrees every day. We had to stop for 30 to 40 minutes every day to let people cool off. We had 300 or 400 people sometimes a day. and we had to wait for everyone to get tested to get out of the car. So me and Bob was standing there and just watched the sun just go away. Two bad kids that won't get to play today, you know. I mean, all the things you can imagine we actually did experience besides the swamps, besides the alligators and the wolf spiders. And what's the snakes that you love the most? Watermelon. Bob hates snakes and alligators. I asked Bob to do the movie, he goes, no. He said, I'm not doing it. Alligators. I'm not doing it.
No way. And by the way, I'm a white cinematographer. I didn't feel comfortable about entering into this story. You had to take me and convince me to move into it.
Yeah. We talked a lot about lifting the veil of slavery. And I said, we gotta do it together. People of every color in order to ever, you know, fight it.
I mean, Ken, Judy, Pierce, Mona, incredible hair, makeup, and Christian too. Talk about the authentic, and Antoine touched on it earlier, but like the authenticity, the research that you had to do to pull us into this.
Yeah, going into this extensive research of that 1863 Louisiana, we wanted to create characters of separation between the Union soldiers and the Confederate soldiers, enlisted men, officers, came prepared with over 250 period facial hair pieces, ready to, whoever got in our chair, we could create a character and to bring, so the audiences could go right into that time period. This is what the intention was going into this. That's why we approached it, to bring authenticity to this. And to have makeup and hair tell the story about the brutality and the suffering and the fight for freedom, and have us tell that story through our work.
Well done.
Judy?
We took great pains to make sure that Will's character was portrayed the way Antoine had his vision. And we had lots of discussion between myself, Pierce, and Antoine. What we did initially was Pierce and I decided that we would have art renderings done and submit it to Antoine. After reading the script several times, I would break it down and try and feel his character and feel what he would look like, and then try and translate it to Will. And I found a wonderful artist who is also a makeup artist, Bill Corso, and he did these renderings for me. And I sent the pictures to Antoine, and he was like, yes, I think we have it. We wanted to show the suffering that he endured, but we also wanted to make sure that his strength of character was also there, and that it followed him relentlessly through this movie. And there were so many different stages that he would go through. So we put together about 4 stages, and then we worked pretty much off of those. And each stage had its intricacies. Each stage it was a day in his life was maybe 3 different looks. And continuity, like you said, was really interesting because we would shoot for half an hour and be down for 5, and then not shoot for 5 weeks because we had a hurricane, and had to pick all that up seamlessly, and also make it translate through the whole movie so that you felt it, that you moved with him, but you felt it, but you didn't see it.
I love watching him work because every time I would tell Will to run into the mud, the swamps, and get explosion on his hair, I would go around.
Judy was right there, right into the bag of mud,
Just every mud, dirt all
lots of
over the road.
leeches. Right there with him.
Pierce, talk a little bit about the hair.
For me, there was 3 or 4 major conversations I had from the start. One with Will, obviously, that we're going to do this movie, And he just said, whatever you want to do, P, I'm rocking with you. And the next was with Judy, and she goes, well, here we go. We're in the shit now. So we got instantly connected and started vibing on concepts. She told me that she had already read the script, started breaking it down. And she encouraged me to just go to your garage, grab a box of hair, and just start playing with it. So that's what I did. And then I got into some research photos of 1863 slaves from Louisiana, from Virginia, from then I got into some cultures of Africa, Namibia, Kenya, Tanzania, just for research of texture and shape, right? So that I could see how this hair might relate in a world that there is absolutely no vanity, right? This man has never seen a barbershop. He doesn't know vanity, much like you said earlier. So, Apple and well, conversation with Antoine, we showed him those pictures, and immediately he goes, I hate to do this to Will, but that's it. That's it. And Judy and I were elated. At that moment, we had an anchor to start from. And, I built 4 wigs, 5, one that I worked with Mona. She killed it out there. She was right there, soldier number 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. I wanted, when I started, styling these 4 wigs, and especially the one I gave to Mona, it was really important to me to show a story for Peter with integrity, to show that this man is strong and he has a lot of faith and he's a lot of courage, but also I didn't want you to see any distinct shape or any constant angles, like you look at it from one side and it's the same as this side. It had to look like maybe he slept on this side of his head, or maybe he had some stress and it broke off, or it's just a story to tell. With anything that you see, you can make up for yourself, relate for yourself. So it's really important for us to create a look that blended seamlessly, and what we like to call unobtrusive excellence. Something that, like Judy said, you see, you feel. Since we're at the DGA, it's one thing that was hugely important was Antoine's ability to communicate with us. He's very direct. He doesn't hold any punches, but he's an awesome leader and creative person. So that, although he did give us the freedom as well, but you felt what he wanted to do. And that kind of connection is priceless. So I would encourage you to work closely with the people of us in these departments, because you will all win. We will all win because of it. Thanks.
Mona, I cannot imagine, watching the war scenes and thinking how many looks you had to create for that. But let's talk about Charmaine and Dadian's look and what, the research that you did to bring her to life.
Well, with her look, because what I normally do, I wait to see the texture of the hair. So when I found out it was her, had her to send in photos of her texture with nothing in it, no extensions or anything. And for me, as a hairstylist, I have to make sure not only just the look of the period, but make sure that her hair was going to be taken care of as well. Because a lot of times actors are very apprehensive because people don't take care of their hair outside of them filming. So when she came in, I made sure that she knew that I was a natural hair girl and that she was in good hands with Allstate. That I was going to try a few things and make sure that I sent it to Antoine, because I want to make sure, because I sent probably about, I got on his nerves, I sent about 500,000 pictures. I blew that phone up because I wanted to make sure that the vision that he had and what even Charmaine had, because Charmaine even had some pointers of what she wanted. And what I like to do is have the director, the actor, and what I want, and bring it together. And so with her, I ended up doing, we went with the 2-strand twist method. What I did, and I prepped her each section without any partings or anything, just grabbed it, put product on, set it. She went to makeup, and after she finished makeup, she came back, and then I untwisted it and gave her that type of shape to where that she looked like. Because for me, reading the script, Peter seemed like, you know, he was that guy that really loved his family, so I felt like she was the type of wife that would put a little more into herself for her husband. So I also wanted to give that type of beauty to her as well, that even though they were slaves, that she had a lot of pride with herself. So when you see her, you see her. And I wanted it to be seamless, that you didn't see any things that are, you know, stood out. But that was part of my process, trying to develop her look. And I always make sure that each character had his look. If you see Gordon, you've seen Tomas, you've seen all of those, I made sure that each of those young men, when you seen them, you could tell distinctly that they were their character. And it was from the textures that they had in their hair, and I wanted to make sure that everything read authentically.
Incredible. I'm so glad you talked about the natural hair, because that's such an important conversation. Christian, the prosthetics. Talk about doing that on Well and how long that took and what went into bringing that photo to life.
Well, thank you. Well, you know, a lot of my job is just to support literally everybody here. It's to support our director, Antoine, Ken, Judy, Pierce, everybody that I can. You know, technically I'm building all the prosthetics and they're doing the day-to-day on this. You know, fighting the conditions and the weather and the actors and everybody's availability. You know, it's my job to help come in and sort of design the pieces in such a way that they look seamless when applied, that I make their jobs easier to do the day-to-day, and that we're designing something that's correct and accurate. And I think that was sort of the big challenge here, is because of the conditions that we were working in on a technical level, we had to adjust on our end. I had a lot of conversations with Ken, who's a 40-year experienced makeup artist in prosthetics and makeup. Judy and Pierce I've worked with, you know, many times, and again, having conversations with them to support their needs on this was where it started. And from there, we had to build the prosthetics to match Will and the actors seamlessly in color because of the way Bob was shooting it, and we knew that it was going to go into the black and white world. You have to treat the coloration of the prosthetics as well as the topical paint that you do differently. So that was a big part of how we had to approach intrinsically coloring the prosthetics. I think a big part of this for everybody here, including myself, was to allow the prosthetic work and the character work done in this film to be a subtext to the story. You know, Antoine, you know, kind of said it perfectly, where, you know, this was Peter's journey. It's a story about finding his freedom, searching for his family, having that love. And in the process of doing so, we had to understand his history. And it's not something that's always explained through words. It's sometimes told visually. And so we wanted to really tell that story visually. I remember working, you know, with Judy very closely about the subtlety of the scars on the face versus how they progress down the body, and how those would play, so we can tell that he has a history there, but we're not putting it into the audience's face and saying this is about the horrors, but you understand what's happening here. There's an undertone. Of course, when we see the reveal of his back, which is where this story spawned from originally, there was a lot of care into not only doing that properly, because of the weight that it carried with this story, but it was technically something that we had to approach in such a way to not overdo it and make it feel like a makeup, but also not underplay the subtleties that we normally do in this craft. We try to make everything organic and feel soft and real, and there's nothing real about that. That's the horror of that photo, is it's not what you would imagine to be real. And so translating that was one of the major challenges, but like I said, I mean, I had the most amazing support group here, and we were guiding each other and figuring it out together, and they did an amazing job on the day-to-day on it, so, yeah.
Let's give it up for that amazing team. All right, I'm gonna have to wrap it up in a bit, but Charmaine, I want to ask you, what does it mean to have this film out there and hear the response to your performance, to Will's performance, to the importance of the story that has not been told until now?
Ooh. I mean, yeah, it feels like one of the most important things I've done in my life. It's interesting. So my heritage is Australian, and my family's from Zimbabwe. And this is such a reminder that by the grace of God, my family wasn't thrown on ships and brought here to work. And in Australia, which is probably something I should have learned in school, but at this moment in 1863, slavery continued again in Australia for another 50 years, almost unabated. So I just think it's such a relevant story for today, and for me as an artist, I'm, growing up in Australia, I'm always trying to search for my heritage and find out more about my bloodline, because I grew up in a culture where not everyone looked like me. And for me, this has been such a beautiful process of being able to find those parts of myself and not only honor myself, but my family and their story. So it's, and I get to work with such beautiful people. This has truly been like a life-changing experience. And, Antoine, the way he directs, he's given me notes that I'll remember for the rest of my days, like beautiful things like, we'll be standing on Naomi's beautiful set, Evergreen Plantation, and he'll be like, remember that there's 400 years of pain beneath your feet in that soil. And so it's the most purpose-driven, spiritually inclined project I've ever done, and I'm so very grateful to be a part of it.
Amazing. Last question, and then we'll let everybody go out to the reception. This is your masterpiece film. What does it mean for you to have told this story and told Peter's journey and this history?
It means everything. It means everything. It's complicated, but it's not. One of my heroes is Muhammad Ali, and I remember him saying, courage only matters when everything's on the line. It feels like we're at a place in our country where everything's on the line. And every time I watch the film, the kid yelling during the battle, "Mama," that's George Floyd. When Vassal runs down Peter and says, "Humble now," that was just happening in Mexico on horseback. So I'm hoping people will see that we're not so far away from this behavior. We can't forget this behavior. I went to school at a place called Taylor Alderdice. A lot of people don't know this, which is an all Jewish school in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. That synagogue that got shot up is right across from the school. I grew up around that. This can't happen. We can't forget this evil. And so for me, I say it with love and an open heart to embrace the truth. Embrace the truth so we can try to heal. And we can maybe fight against these atrocities that continue to happen, or the way we treat each other. That's my dream. So what I can do, my power is the camera and these people. And that's it.
Incredible. Incredible conversation. Incredible talent. Thank you all so much. Thank you everybody for coming out, and please join us afterwards in the reception. Thank you.